Recording.
Okay.
A quorum being present, this meeting of the SSA number 61 Hyde Park Commission is called to order. Pursuant to the applicable law and my determination that attendance by remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical nor prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19, this meeting is conducted via video conference. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the SSA website shortly. Let's review our minutes. Thanks for sending them out, Rod. Are there any corrections to the minutes? All right, if there are no objections, the minutes are accepted as circulated. Thanks, Raymond. Questions and comments from our guests? Would any of our guests like to take this time to comment, ask questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Is Isaac with us? No,
Isaac is not with us today, but what he did do was he video recorded his presentation. So I'm queuing that up now.
All right.
All right, hold on one moment.
Ready.
Look at us being all technical.
Oh, that's all fancy. Wow.
Let's get started here.
Rod, the audio is not coming through.
Okay. Is that better, Greg?
Yep. Do you mind restarting it?
Yeah, the quality's not the best in terms of the sound. Brad,
All right,
the
Rod, I'm not
sound's
sure if
not
it's
good.
helpful.
Okay, I apologize for the sound. There's not a lot I can do at this point. I've turned it up. Is it just too loud or is it just garbled?
Garbled.
Terrible.
Very garbled.
Okay. Let me see if I can. This just might be a bandwidth issue. Was that still garbled?
Yes.
Okay. All right. There's not a lot I can do here. Let me try and pull up the report and go through it. Or I tell you what, let's kind of do it out of order for the sake of time. George, if you could go through the budget tracker.
Sure.
All right. Share.
So here's the budget tracker. Hopefully you all received it in plenty of time to review it and look over it. Nothing drastic, nothing big. We're being very conservative in our expenses. And as you can see, we are not anywhere near reaching our budget, although we're 8 months into the year. And of course, that's all due to the tax collection delay. So we are intentionally being careful in how we expend our funds. The bottom line simply boils down to we've spent 41% of what we budgeted to date. We have 59% remaining of our budget. And unless, revenues change, we are proceeding. Sorry, I'm bouncing my desk around. We're proceeding cautiously with our expenses. Due due to our finance committee meeting last week, we were looking at long-term numbers, which Rod's going to talk about in a few moments. And I thought, just as a prep for what Rod will be talking about, I wanted to look at how we've been spending money over the course of the year, and we're averaging 18,000 per month for the first 8 months. So if we use that number to figure out where we would be just with normal spending for the next 4 months, that would be an additional $72,000 that we would spend by the end of the year, just on an average basis. And given what Isaac has presented in terms of the budget, we have 66,000 in the bank at this point, and 66,000 in the bank and 72,000 worth of possible expenses raises some red flags that we have to talk about and think about. I believe Rod and Diane have been looking ahead and projecting how we deal with this issue on an ongoing basis or going forward basis with this. I will say there was one discrepancy between Isaac's report and the budget tracker. And we cleared this up in the finance committee, but I noticed that it's back in Isaac's report. And that is, it's very minor. There's an $80 discrepancy. So Rod, if you could please make a note to tell Isaac that when we have these finance committee meetings, he really needs to take into consideration the corrections that we give him. These two numbers here are wrong. They're not our budgeted amounts, and he corrected them on the version that we had in the finance committee meeting, but the version that got sent out again has the wrong numbers. It's only $80. It was 52,000 and 6,000 even. So if those two numbers, once they're corrected, his numbers and the budget tracker numbers are exact to the dollar. So we are on target.
Okay.
So are there any questions about the budget tracker?
Thank you, George, for reviewing both the financials and the budget tracker. That definitely saves some time. And perhaps Rod can talk about the spending. Was that on the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
And then we just keep moving. Thank you so much, George. I appreciate that. Again, Isaac did his best, but unfortunately technology did not work in our favor today.
Okay. Let me share the screen. There are a couple of things I want to bring up first as I get into this. And the first couple of things is that we did a revision. We did discuss this, and I want to briefly mention it, that we had to do some, excuse me, something's going on behind me. Sorry about that. We moved over some funds from item number 4 for the business, and it's from the, come on, Rod, we're moving it from the SSA designation over into salary. We had to make some salary adjustments, and we explained it earlier. So we did make that move over to those categories. The next thing is our 2023 budget is on its way. We've got a couple of more things to do to prepare for it so that it will go to City Council in August. The bulk of time I'm going to spend, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we've gone through it, is the cash flow projection. I passed this out along with that, and I just want to go through very briefly what's going to happen. George brought up our bank account number, and I'm using that from the budget tracker and from Isaac's numbers to project a cash flow. We've been able to kind of cut expenses, and this is just an abbreviated version. What we've asked the SEC to do is take on numbers, and when you see with the loan, what this number basically is office and salary. So it's overhead. The other things, we went through the bare minimum of things we were contracted. So whether that was clean slate, whether it was some of the website issues that we have to maintain, those were on an annual contract. So we are paying those. And this basically goes down to what will happen if we don't get tax disbursements. Without the SECC taking on the salary and office expenses, somewhere around December, January, the checking account goes red. And that's what these red numbers mean. We've probably spent roughly more than's in the account. And definitely by February, we won't let the bank account here go red. So this will be added to what the SEC is covering for our expenses. So for the most part, we're still trying to navigate this as best we can. But these numbers just kind of summarize what happens to the checking account as we spend just the bare minimum and have the SECC take on salary and office expenses. So I hope I've explained this a little bit better here with the explanations here. Are there any questions about the financial items I explained? George, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I don't remember us talking about this at the Finance Committee meeting. Did we discuss how the SSA will repay this quote loan to the SECC? Will it be a lump sum? Will it be spread out? I know it's partially dependent on how the tax revenues, the tax levies come in, whether, but I'm sort of assuming we'll probably get a big deposit all at once. Will we try to repay the SEC all at once, or will this be spread out over a period of time?
We haven't discussed that specifically. What we'll try and do, I tried to summarize that a little bit here. Or actually, no, I didn't summarize it here. I was thinking I summarized it here. But what we'll try and do is make sure that the SSA can remain afloat and go forward. And at that point, we will try and reimburse the SECC as fast as possible. But the first goal is to make sure that the SSA remains solvent. I know that's not a full answer, but at this point, it's the best we have given.
Sure, no, that helps. Charles had a question.
Yeah, I would think it's really going to be based on what, when the money comes in. If it comes in, we could only carry over so much money, you would have to disperse with some of those funds. Then you could pay in full. But if it comes in at a time we need funds for other places, then it'd probably be in payments or something like that. Along with that, just one other statement concerning the TIF. I know the mayor's talking about spending some TIF money downtown. Is that going to affect, what we are trying to get from the TIF in our area? You shaking your head, George. You don't think so?
It won't, no, because there's
Right.
separate TIFs, and you can't share money across TIF boundaries unless they're contiguous, and downtown is far enough away, it will have no impact on our TIF.
Okay.
Right. Also, there's an
Good
article.
answer, George. Good answer.
I've got my homework.
It's a welcome answer.
Yes.
There's an article that was out in Crane, Chicago Business yesterday regarding what the county said about taxes. They've said something that we've been discussing, that we're looking more for December, probably, for the tax payments to be due, which more than likely means our disbursements are going to come next year. I'll pass that article around. It's the latest one, but it's basically been saying things that have been said for several months. Because of that, we've been paying attention. We've been able to produce this cash flow and kind of buffer ourselves against the worst, or I guess now the expected case scenario. Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Greg?
Sorry, guys, I need one more minute.
Well,
Yeah, keep going, Rod.
yeah, I'll just take it. Reconstitution, I'll just be brief on reconstitution.
Thanks, Rod.
We met last or earlier this month. We had a lot of good discussion around that, and the phase we're in at this point is getting the feasibility study. That feasibility study is due November 1st. The city's reception of that feasibility study will determine if we can take the next steps forward and reconstitute. I'm very confident that we will be able to go forward with that. And during that time, we'll start getting together the timelines of what it takes to reconstitute.
Rod, what is involved in a feasibility study?
The feasibility study, the first part is the sponsoring agency's readiness. The second part is what do we think we want to do and how will we go about accomplishing an SSA in terms of what the needs are for that SSA. And the third part is just exhibits. But the second part is really crucial, and it's why we have the committee, because they represent a lot of the needs of the district. So that's the part we're working on. The other two, they've already been worked on by the sponsoring parent.
Rod, I was reading the steps this morning, and there are a lot of them. But the big ones that I think we just need to know, if you're not on the committee, the big ones are the November 1 feasibility study is due. By
Right.
January 27th, the SSA Advisory Committee needs to select a consultant. March and April, we have 2 community meetings. June 9th, our full application is due with 10% of the proposed pins signing. And then August, the balance, the remaining 10%. So we need 20% total proposed pins. October, we have the public hearing in City Hall. And by December, we will be approved or not approved by City Council. So a full year of work ahead of us. I know you know that. I just didn't know if all the other commissioners knew that. So I wanted to get that out there.
Thank you. That's a helpful review.
Greg, could you actually share that in an email with the commissioners, just that basic timeline? Because that'd be really handy to have to refer back to.
Will do. I'm sorry, I had to step out for a minute. Where are we on our agenda?
We're at the update on programs.
Got it.
Okay, you ready? That one's for me too. Okay, in terms of the programs, the farmers market ended last Sunday. That was our last one. And we really had a successful farmers market season in addition to that day. So for all those who came out and supported the farmers market, we thank you for that. We're getting ready to gear up for another fine one next year. And the other thing that's due is our third quarter reporting, all of the things that we've done. There are goals associated with it in terms of how many people we drew, how many things we were able to accomplish. Many of those we're not going to accomplish because we weren't able to fund them. So that's the other thing that's due. The last thing is the program committee meeting. That went well. It was Mary and I, and those all go well, but I talked to Mary about a focus that me, Mary, Shaka, and Anthony are going to try and take. This is the time we start planning for 2023 in terms of the projects we want to do. We dig down into that work plan and get specific about the projects. We also need to start working on the projects we need to do because we have a lot of money we anticipate coming, and we need to have projects to put that money towards. Okay, any questions about the program, about programming? Okay. I apologize for the lull we're going to have to do to fill this in. I asked our next guest come at 11:30, and we are about 7 or 8 minutes ahead of them at this point. Let me see if I can do this. Let me blank my screen and try and call them if there's any questions about anything.
I'm happy to give a quick update, if that's okay with everyone. So this past Wednesday, September 21st, the SECC hosted an appreciation reception, which you all were invited to, and thank you to those that could come. I wanted to acknowledge George Rumsey. We did provide him a recognition for his the last 4 years of his service to the SSA and SECC. So I just wanted to, again, say thank you, George, for everything you've done for us. Thank you to the commissioners that came out. Thank you to those that emailed. I appreciate the communication. It was a very nice reception. We did it on the 11th floor at Harper Court at the roof, near the rooftop deck. And we had fine food from Chant and some beverages. And we just did some like very light reception, and it was very nice. Those SECC board members, SSA commissioners, SECC staff, some of our community and economic development partners, such as the Hyde Park Chamber, the Woodlawn Chamber, you know, their respective executive directors, and just a couple other partners. So just wanted to let everyone know that it was really big success. We do have some pictures coming. And again, George, did you have anything you wanted to say? We just really appreciate you.
I just want to say thank you. It was a marvelous reception. I enjoyed myself. It was especially nice seeing people in person again after so long. I mean, just, you know, recognizing people without their masks on is a lost skill now. And my lovely souvenir plaque is hanging on the wall where I can see it from my desk. So thanks to the SECC and to all of the commissioners for your support over the years. I'm not done yet. I just got to notice that I guess Greg and I are both moving forward on approval for one more term. So we're not going anywhere just yet. But thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, George. And thanks, Greg, for taking the torch and helping lead us. And now I think our guests are on the call. Rod, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
And-
Rod, you and Greg want to take it over?
Yeah. Okay. We are now going to do a presentation on Harper Court Phase 2. I invited the people from Trammell Crow Company and John Carlson, who are leading that effort. And I see Morgan, I see you're here. If you and John are available, I've got the screen shared if you need it. Oh, I see you, John. Yeah.
Yep, I'm here and thank you.
All right.
I will share my screen here and just introduce myself, Johnny Carlson with Trammell Crow Company. I'm joined by Morgan Bear-Balaska, who's involved on everything that we work on as a company in the life science and in office perspective here in Chicagoland. So thanks for having us. We are extremely excited to be joined by the university, who is going to be a tenant in the project. And obviously this is right in their backyard and your backyard. So we know every inch of the project is important to us and you, and we want to make sure we're addressing any concerns as we go throughout this. So we have named the project, it's Hyde Park Labs. So we obviously are excited about the location, the community, and take it very seriously. But we wanted to walk you through a brief overview of the development, and we'll start with our team. So obviously we're working with the University of Chicago as a tenant. We are co-developing this with Beacon Capital Partners out of Boston. And then we are headquartered in Dallas, but our team here is local. So Morgan and I and about 13 others are based in Chicagoland. And we develop in and around communities throughout Chicago and multiple product types. And we're really excited to partner with Beacon on this. We both have a national expertise and a local expertise that we think works well. And we are working in tandem with them to get this project out of the ground in the fourth quarter of 2022. Jumping into the team, we went out and we selected in our minds a best-in-class team to deliver a project on time, make sure we're listening to the community, making sure we're good neighbors. And that project is led by Morgan, myself, and Steve Perpura from Beacon. And we've hired Power Construction with Jimmy and team at Ujama, who's going to co-develop in the construction side of things as a joint venture partnership. And then we also know that hiring is very critical to every project we do. So working with the local community, with Trinell, Lisa and Melissa, and then we working with Dina, who's local to Hyde Park, who's worked a number of projects on kind of the interiors, the community spaces, the neighborhood, and then teaming her up with Elkis Manfredi, who's a world-class laboratory office architect. And then local, obviously we have zoning. And one thing I do want to hit on the bottom right corner of this is we're going to be employing a full-time community engagement team member that's going to live with the project, not just through completion, but as it leases up and has people working there, doing experiments there to really live and breathe with the project throughout. And then we're going to obviously have an on-site management company that will work to hire later. So jumping into the site aerial, you can see the existing phase 1 office building right here on the bottom right, the existing hotel situated in the middle, and you have Harper Court that goes throughout here. There are going to be a few improvements to some of the retail areas and more outdoor seating, more green space. And then our development that's proposed is this office building, lab building here on the northwest corner of the site. And then McDonald's is just off to the right of the screen. Looking at the existing building here off to the right, we have, we're adding new parking levels and then a rooftop area with green space. It really allows for light and air between the buildings and offsetting the uses. And then looking at here, this is all in purple. That's new laboratory and office floors situated over new parking levels to support the building's new mass. And then really looking at the existing retail streetscape, we're not touching that, we're building above it. And then on the north side, we're going to demolish the existing retail and go vertical there. So it's going to be a brand new development that's situated above the existing conditions, and it's a very complex execution. That's why we've taken a lot of time to make sure we're designing it and going to have a great plan to build it. Just looking from the perspective of what it looks like, this is looking from the northeast. You can see McDonald's there. Phase 1 is to the left, and phase 2, which we're calling, and the rooftop here is situated in the middle. Looking down from a bird's eye perspective from the southeast, you can see the new phase of the building here off to the left. You can see balconies overlooking Harper Court. You can see the new levels of parking, outdoor green space, and then the views of the city. This is looking from the southwest corner. This is actually existing retail and parking. We're going to build vertical from there, and then we're going to wrap and create a new pedestrian streetscape that bends the corner and keeps that active streetscape for safety. I think visually it's a better project because we're doing it that way. So I'm really excited about how we landed on the design, and then looking kind of from the train tracks southeast corner, looking up at the phase 2 building, which is right here, that amenity deck that's got the green space. And then kind of where we are today, we're on track for demolition to occur of the single-story restaurant just north of the existing Harper Court phase 1 in the fourth quarter of 22. We are looking to break ground shortly thereafter, late this year, probably in the month of December. You'll see activity on site. And then for occupancy for tenants, users, research will be ongoing starting in second quarter of 2024. So kind of in our minds, it's a 2-year build. We've been, and the university has been involved in this project for a long time. We're really excited to get this project out of the ground and make it reality. I wanted to summarize a few things, and then we'll hand it out for questions, which is why we think this is a great plan for the community. We're improving the pedestrian streetscape. We mentioned that by creating that vibrancy as you turn the corner and making it look like it makes sense from the phase 2 to phase 1 project. I mentioned the student and community space. We're working with the Alderman's office. We've had one-off community meetings with Dina at IDEA, who's I mentioned as our architect, to really think about that space holistically, what's going to go on in that space, what type of program amenities are going to be in that space. And that's going to be on grade with the retail front door. So it's going to invite the community in, be able to service and bring people up to that rooftop deck for programmed events. I mentioned programming. We're going to have a dedicated program staff in that space. We've committed to do that, and we're going to make sure it's the right individual that'll lead a team and really work with the tenants, the office, the laboratory research that's going on above grade in the floors and integrating it within the community. And then the users in the building are going to pay into a fund annually dollars to really drive that programming. So there's going to be a budget to spend, and that'll be paid for by the users in the building and not the community. And then looking at just what is the university doing with internships and the youth and programming and really tying it into all the programs that are already there today and partnering with local schools to make sure that architecture, engineering, and construction, it's a really unique project. Let's make sure that they're involved and learn as this project comes out of the ground on the front end. And then obviously very important to us is hitting our MBE, WBE goals. These are floors. We want to exceed these at 35% MBE and 6% WBE, and looking at workforce diversity. And that's what Trinal is going to be helping us with. So I'm going to wrap it up and I'll land on this slide. I'll unshare just so we can see everyone's faces and open up for questions. I tried to be brief. So thank you very much.
John, thank you, and Megan very much, Morgan, I'm sorry. Thank you all very much for the presentation that you put on. This is the second time I've seen it, so I've seen the longer version. But the work you all are doing, along with you, Angie, is just magnificent on Harper Court Phase 2. I've been here a while. I didn't think, I thought this would, be done by now.
Me
some of us
too.
on- right. We thought it'd be done by now, but the work you all are just doing is just magnificent.
We didn't plan on a pandemic, so.
I have a question. What kind of labs are going to be in there?
Great question. And this project, other than the university's lease, they're going to be anchoring 2 floors, approximately 2 floors of the development. We're building this speculatively. So that means in our minds of real estate, we're building it without knowing who our tenant is. So we're building the infrastructure to handle any kind of science that you could build. So it could be AI, it could be therapeutics, could be medical device, could be quantum. We're planning for a wide array of uses. And that's really what makes this project hard to get out of the ground. Like Angie said, during a pandemic, it's expensive. It's very crucial to hire the right people and having your budget in an inflation environment match. So we've tried to build the best in class into this building and be able to say yes to really kind of any science that makes sense to be here. So hopefully that answers it, but we try to be the easy button to any kind of science you could do in this building.
Well, I guess a follow-up question to that would be where you're going to be seeking the tenants.
Great question. So we're part of a development team that delivered 2 large laboratory buildings in Fulton Market, which is just north in a really robust part of the city where there's a lot of development. We delivered 2 of these type of buildings, about 720,000 square feet. We've hired a brokerage team, and that brokerage team will be the same team leasing this space. I would say that brokerage team has a national reach and a local reach. So we want to groom and grow with the tenants that are coming out of the university. And then we also want to look at national, bringing those new users to Hyde Park. So we're going to have a national and a local outlook. We feel like the universities are right in the backyard, and that's what makes this project financeably work and have a good thesis that, yes, we're going to fill it with science coming out of the university, but we'll also have inbound requirements that will satisfy. So we'll have a kind of a broad reach.
Yeah. Maybe just following up on that a little bit, Johnny and Morgan, please jump in. This type of space, this sort of that's equipped to handle these kind of companies that are investing in science and research. There wasn't a lot of this space in Chicago a few years ago, and actually Trammell Crow is the first ground up development in Fulton Market to do one of these buildings. There's another building under construction right now in Lincoln Yards by Sterling Bay. And then there's a couple projects in the planning phases at the Michael Reese site and at the site at Roosevelt and Clark, the Discovery Partners Institute. But having this type of space is really good for sort of an inclusive economy. You see this on the coast a lot, where you can sort of marry research institutions and sort of corporate anchor partners and sort of entrepreneurial startups and have the space to support these type of companies. So we think, for Chicago, it's a really important thing. We're delighted that it's on the South Side, that this will be the first project on the South Side of this caliber, and just are really excited about the opportunities here.
Well said.
Just a quick image of, I know sometimes it's hard to conceptualize what the lab space looks like. So it's truly different than a traditional office, but able to satisfy the diversity of research needs. So just wanted to show a quick image of our existing spaces, which will be similar to what we see in Hyde Park.
Thanks, Morgan. Johnny, do you mind showing that last slide of your presentation? It flashed by so quickly, but it was very interesting. And this project looks fantastic. Congratulations. Let us know how we can help.
Thank you.
Thanks,
No, we
Scott.
appreciate it. So I want to make sure the last slide was it this slide here?
No, I thought it was one after this.
Okay, just
One
I
more.
think that was just our
Just one.
company.
Okay. I thought it was about the project. Okay.
Nope, just that's our company overview in case anyone asks any questions.
Angie, Morgan, and Johnny, there was a point, I guess, because we were going real fast here, but in the first presentation, you all spoke to the retailers and the restaurants would still be open during the construction phase.
Yes. As part of this, not only are we working with the university to satisfy them, but we're meeting with all the existing tenants. We're listening to them. We're not going to touch or take them out of business for any point. So we're spending the money to have canopies, have signage, have other walkways maintained, keep their businesses open and operating. And that's one of the reasons why we hire Power Construction is they've done it for us before. This is a very complex project. And to keep those retailers open and build vertically with a laboratory building like this is very important to keep them open, and safety is key. So yes, we will not be impacting the retailers. Obviously, they'll be working around us and we'll be working around them, but in collaboration.
Yeah, and just to build on that, there are the university's tenants. Two of them are new, obviously, and they knew sort of, what this isn't going to be a surprise that, that this is happening. And, we'll work with them as we always do to, if there are rough patches, to figure it out. So our goal is to make sure that, that they can continue to operate, pull them through to the other side of this, where then they will benefit from this increased daytime traffic and opportunities to have more customer base.
Well, as part of my goals, I'm counting on them for that vitality. So I'm very impressed.
I have a question.
Hold
Are
on,
you-
Charles, I think you was first.
Let Charles go. Go ahead, Charles.
Okay. Are you fully, in terms of funding financially, you fully funded? Will there be some kind of grants given, some kind of TIF benefits or anything from the city?
Great question. To answer it, it's 100% private development. So there's no city monies that are due to make this project go forward. So this is a private development, if that answers your question.
And in fact, we'll be paying into the TIF.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
So I was going to ask if you could elaborate just a little bit on how you're envisioning the community space. I've heard you discuss the idea of community areas in the building.
Yeah, so I will go to a quick slide here. Let me just get to the page and I'll share my screen here. So this page here outlined, if you can see my screen, the Student and Community Center. This is actually a vacant storefront that we're going to be constructing. That's going to be housed with conferencing, office, community space to host events, based on STEM talent and research. So this is just like any other retail with a front door. We're going to put it front and center in Harper Court. That's also going to have an elevator for programmed events to bring those community members up to the rooftop deck that we showed, the green space, direct access, not having to go through the office building or research building. And that's what we're going to have our full-time individual that's going to be leading those efforts to tie in the community with the tenants that are above in the space. So we're actually in the first phase of meeting with stakeholders, meeting, teachers, community members. We're keeping the group small, but we're slowly getting a cohesive, iterative outcome to what needs to be in that space. So it's not designed yet. We're working through it, but we want to listen to the community, and we're trying to identify who's going to be mostly involved in that space, listen to them, and then Dina is in the phase one of a 3-phase process to what that space will look like, feel like, and what we programmed within there. But we know we have some constraints and ideas, but nothing's fine-tuned yet.
And an overall goal, for the university, and I think Trammell Crow shares this, and I think that everyone that we've talked to shares this, is really opening up as you go through the breezeway there between the court and Lake Park, like really opening it up and make more glass, so you can see inside that community space, and there's a lot of activity happening there, and making people want to understand and get involved in activities happening in there. Just for additional context, it is the space we're talking about is currently the Connect Gallery, and we're working with them also as part of the planning for this community space, shifting from a gallery space to, that space will be more open to the community, and they're involved in the planning as well.
And it's this entire area here. And then the breezeway is kind of this connection point with glass and inviting the public in for programmed events and research.
One more question, George.
I'm sorry, it just sparked another idea, which was if any consideration is being given to car reduction and less automobile reduction, a little more pedestrian friendly space.
Yeah, so you're talking, just so I understand your question, I believe you're asking, do we look at just how many parking stalls we're building for the new development? Is that?
No, I've had it with parking. We have enough parking. I really mean the Harper Court itself, the street Harper Court. I walk that way all the time. I'm in the Hyde Park Bank building across the street. I walk through there all the time. And at 4 o'clock, it's dangerous to walk over there because of all the cars trying to turn into that narrow little space to pick up people who are getting off work and zooming through there and stuff. And there are days I keep thinking maybe this should just become a pedestrian space or very limited car traffic allowed through here, like they did on the quadrangles on campus and greatly improved it.
Yep. Well, let me share another quick snippet here. And we agree with you. There's only so much we can do. I think over time, I believe Harper Court could change, but this is the existing streetscape. And obviously you have leases with other patrons here that we don't control, and they're users that have to buy into this. But right now, what we know we can do is if you look and just kind of look at this screen, I'm going to show you before and after. This is the existing conditions. What we're going to do is also add more trees, elongate this, and take this row of parking and convert that to more streetscape for outdoor seating and adding trees. So if you kind of go back and forth, you can see this curb cut. This area is going to be new. We're going to keep parking here and we're going to keep this connected, but you can obviously close it down for events like you already do. I think over the time, this is a long-term vision here as this block gets redeveloped. There will be things that change. I think it is a step in the right direction to increase and make it a better transition than it currently is. And then we'll see how things evolve.
My question is, are you all going to have any more community meetings regarding the project? I know groundbreaking is set to start very soon, and we're pretty far along, but will there be additional community meetings?
I can maybe answer that and go ahead, Jenny. We're going through the engagement process with a group on the ground floor community space. We also have been invited to other organizations to present, which we're obviously saying yes to as many of those as we can. I don't know if the alderman has planned on one more large community meeting, but we're certainly open to doing more small, presentations at different organizations.
Yep, well said. I think right now I'm looking out at our agenda. We have a few like this that are just throughout the next few weeks, just meeting with groups that hear about it. But I know we had our larger group and it was all positive, and the city, it's kind of by right within the current entitlement. So we're working our way through. We're willing to meet with whoever, just like Angie said. So.
I have another question. This one might be a little bit off track, but when this is all said and done, I know the whole development is done. Who's going to be the true owners in terms of, will it be one particular owner? Will it be broken up into different owners when it's all developed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's important. So phase one is going to have different. We're not part of the phase one development. We're just building the phase two. So we have a long-term vision ownership structure with the phase two. So the building we're going to build has a long-term vision with its own lenders, equity partners to kind of go with the project as it goes. So it's not going to be tied to anything with the phase one.
Okay.
Greg?
Great. I guess, thank you very much for coming in and presenting. It's a very exciting project for the neighborhood.
Thank you. Let us know if you ever want us to come back.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Do you want us to hop off now?
I have
You're
one
welcome to
question.
stay.
One question that
Yeah, Dr.
probably is more of a private thing than a public. Are you guys interested in a new development once this is done?
We always are. I mean, this is what makes our jobs really exciting and fun. It's we develop in communities, and this is the first for us in Hyde Park. So getting to know Angie, getting to know people like you, learning about the community and what really makes it work. We're going to keep our eye on the ground, and we have plenty to do to get this project out of the ground by fourth quarter, but this is exactly the start of how we enter communities and learn and hopefully do more than one project.
Yeah, I was just looking at in terms of a lot of developments going on the East Gateway. And the West Gateway certainly need, be lifted, and the gate should be more developed so that we even the Hyde Park shopping district out in a real nice way so that everything is not jammed in one area.
Yep, we agree with you. And I think there's different product types, meaning is it office, is it lab, is it whatever it would be, we're going to look at that too. So the good thing about this is we work well with the university and we work well with the community. We think listening, and we try to look at everything differently, not cookie cutter development, not one size fits all. So I think bringing those ideas up to us, send us emails. We're available. Angie's got our contact information, but we're just a quick call away and we're here to help.
Thank you very much.
All right. You guys are welcome to stay for as long as you like. I think we're going to continue on with our meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Angie, great job bringing this thing to reality. By the way, it looks great.
Oh, it's been a team effort, and we're grateful for the partnerships we have in advancing it. So thanks for your support, and reach out if you have questions. So
Great.
I think we all understand we set targets, dates. I don't know anybody that will meet target dates. It's always something to end of the year, but it's good to see things to really jump off and get started. Fantastic.
Rod, is there any additional information to report in the program section of our agenda?
Nothing on the program. I do have a correction to make for the next meeting. I have it down for 11 o'clock. It's actually an evening 7 o'clock meeting in October. I'll send out that correction. And just going a little bit forward, the next two meetings are going to be different. There is no November meeting, and the December meeting is earlier in the month. So I will send out that information. For our guests, it's also available on our website.
Great. So I think the only thing I would just, maybe I'm hammering this point home, and I'm sorry, I just feel like it's very important for us to all know that the city has not sent us the second half of our funding. So we are running bare bones right now in terms of spending. I know I'm repeating what Rod said, but I just think it should sink in. The only spending that we're doing is office space, salaries, and a website that we've already contracted for the year, and the clean slate. And everything else is essentially on hold until we get our funding, which, I don't think anyone on this call knows, but my guess isn't going to be till March. So just to set your expectations, we're in a, fortunately, we've got a great partner in the SECC who's willing to help, lend us money. I think we're a great credit risk, but, that's where we are. I don't have anything else to add. Before we adjourn, are there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah,
George
George.
has his hand up.
Yes,
Or
please,
George.
George.
I always have one more thing to add. I'm sorry. I just wanted to remind Rod and Diane that we need to approve our meeting dates for next year at our October meeting. So just make sure that's on our agenda.
That, George, is on our agenda.
Got it.
I've already gone through and looked at the dates, and it'll be on our October agenda.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, I'll see you guys 7 p.m. October 25th. If there's no further business, there's no objection, this meeting will be adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a-
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Bye
great day.
all. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a great
Bye.
one. Be safe, everyone.
Take care.
Guys.